If we talk about souls, as you were saying, let's move to on an extreme case. I've always wondered, and this question comes from me, why are there souls that come to this physical plane as a body and maybe come with an illness that was acquired only during birth? I don't want to get into whether that is karmic or not, but they may enter a complicated family role, and I don't want to talk about illnesses, etc. Or even souls that come to play the role of being born and for whatever reason, you'll explain that really well. I don't really understand these kinds of vibrational frequencies that come to this plane to transcend after, say, a month. I was finding it hard to say. Dying as a child, right? I was finding it hard to pronounce, but it happens, right? Many people in the 3D world wonder, why did it happen to me? So is it more like a soul task for that being in order to perform a group task within the family? Yes. It usually has to do with things that have been happening to the family clan as a soul or group. It doesn't tend to be random. It's not random? No. Everything has logic in the universe. It's a logic. Nothing happens just because. Everything has purpose. But sometimes things seem to be so separated that we don't see them. Something that can begin to explain this. The other day, I uploaded a photo of the globe I'm painting, and I saw 2 or 3 comments of people that said, "What a pity, so much desert." And this got my attention, so I said, let's question this. We tend to think that life is the trees, the forests, the jungles. However, the Amazon, the great Amazon, the reason why that great mass of trees, which gives oxygen to the planet, can live is because of the Sahara, because of the Sahara Desert. Every now and then, the sand flies over the Atlantic and leaves all the minerals on the trees, on the roots of the trees. It also regulates planetary temperature and humidity. So, look at how something that I can't see, that I can't understand, such as a place of desert and death, is providing life somewhere else. Look at what that entails. So we often see illness as, why does it have to happen to me? When really an illness is telling me, hey, you haven't been doing this for a long time. We can't look at things like this because everything is interconnected. There are many more things behind. What are the family traumas? What are the problems? Have there been deaths, abortions before in the family? Were the women scared of being a mother? What did that person come to heal? Because we usually think that the beginning of life is there when one is born, but the beginning of life was millions of years ago. So, birth is a consequence of life. It's not the beginning of life. It's a consequence of life in which the whole being suddenly projected itself into existing. Existing as a new organism, but its cells had already existed. So all this information has already been registering itself. The child didn't fall ill then. She was already ill. But why? Did she stop? What happened? So we have to work on the whole genetic root of all the family tree. A baby is not born out of nowhere. She is born due to cellular multiplications, things that are in the environment and genetically inside the parents. So we don't have to look at it as why does it happen. We have to look for its logic. It's not a punishment or anything like that. Rather, it has to do with what we came to learn or what that being is learning. What I explained about when a person dies within a month of their birth is that maybe someone lived 85 years in their previous life, But they didn't realize something and just needed 1 or 2 more months. He needed just that in order to be able to transcend. So maybe they are born in the same family in order to be able to transcend what they couldn't understand in the previous one. In the previous one, in which maybe they were 80 or 90 years old. Exactly. Wow. And now that we're talking about this, do souls choose where they're going to be born at all times? No. Does one write, I'm going to be Marc, I'm going to be born in Barcelona, I'm going to have those parents? Does one decide this? Usually. Well, is it written? That would be the correct thing. But what happens? Just as we, in our lives, we tend to believe that when we die, we become angels and we have full awareness of everything. But it's not like that. It's a consequence. Everything keeps going, everything continues. When we leave the third dimension, when we die, we move to the fourth dimension, which is a projection of all the times of what I lived. If I don't realize how to do that, and I keep on being entangled in that project, in that projection, when I am born again, I will be born due to the effect of external projections over me and not due to my intention to be born, because I'm not able to see everything with clarity. Really, we decide, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be born here, when we move to the fifth dimension. The fifth dimension is already what we could call heaven, if we use Christian words. It's where we meet not our relatives, but our masters. It's where we meet our truth, where we realize that the third dimension was space, the fourth dimension was time. In the fifth, we've already left time and space, and we realize we've constructed them, so we can construct them again. Wow. So I designed my new reality between the fifth and sixth dimension. So this would answer our question. We could design from the fifth to the sixth, right? From the fifth dimension, I can choose, okay? I'm going to come back this way, I'm going to do this, etc. From the sixth, I can design it. I can say, this time I'm going to do this, I'm going to do these genetics, I'm going to, you yourself design. I'm my own architect, exactly. But we need to get there first. We need to get there and we're not on our way yet. We usually go third, fourth, third, fourth, third, fourth, and that's how we get there. That's why often there's no logic to why I was born here again, why I'm in the same family group. It all really depends on vibration. So if my vibration is in this particular shape, unless I mold my shape into something else, it will keep looking for the same shape. The same shape, the same patterns, everything. If I'm a square, I'll always fall into square-shaped figures. Very interesting. You were talking about the sixth, and what about the seventh? How do we see things from there? The seventh dimension is enlightenment. So here we could talk about when someone is saying they want to experience enlightenment. The seventh dimension is the point where there is full understanding of the cosmos. In my opinion, it's where the elixir is, the maximum truth. It's usually the plane where one could say the archangel and seraphim are in a Christian way. They are authorities, magnanimous entities whose bodies we are minute cells of. They can feel everything. And they feel everything because we are their cells. So what I'm feeling and what you're feeling is what the being is feeling. So the seventh dimension is like constant ecstasy. It's enlightenment. Some get there, or whoever gets there. We've all been there. Good reflection. We don't remember. Well, some do. We've all been there. Inevitably, we've all been there. What actually happens if we define it in a very humane way? The seventh dimension is like a constant orgasm. It's constant as I can feel everything as an only pulse. So when I can feel everything, a question arises. What can I do in order to feel every part, every emotion? So I designed the sixth dimension in order to create realities that allow me to experience each one of these emotions. Then in the fifth, I create coherence and design a life plan. In the fourth, I set a time frame, and in the third, a biological frame. Biological, material, exactly. So basically, we've all been in the seventh dimension if we're not in the third. And is that it, or are there more? I've heard the eighth and ninth. The eighth dimension is the network, where all the data of information is, everything, the Akasha. And the ninth is the center of everything, which is the void, returning to the void. Returning to the void, so returning to unity to the I am. I've closed the circle, I've understood everything, and that's the greatest state of plenitude possible. And if we go back to the third, although it may be hard to answer, how many lifetimes are we talking about? What do you mean? For example, how many lifetimes can we go through? Are there people in this 3D who've had infinite thousands of lives? Oh, yes, of course. Or is there a limit that says, it's your turn now, let's evolve? Well, successful, complete school years, exactly. I couldn't find the right words. How long does that university last? The University of Life lasts around 70 lives. 70 lives if we did well and we learned everything. We could do it really well and manage in 3 or 4 and transcend. It could be done, but what a life. I don't recommend it to anyone. Blood, sweat, and tears. Really hard work. Yes, because in the universe, the objective is not to get enlightened. We need to remember that we come from enlightenment. We were already enlightened, exactly. We came from enlightenment into matter. The question is why? Why leave that to come to this? Because we're already enlightened. What we want to know is each particle of light, I know I am light. And the question is why? What the universe looks for is its own answers. And I need experience in order to find the answers. I need to go through these experiences, exactly. So what the universe needs is to experience. It doesn't care if you get there earlier. The important thing is to have experience. So can you do it in 3 lives? You can, but they'll be intense, very intense lives. My heart's